I never expected that the very moment I walked into my grandparents' house, drenched from the light drizzle outside and exhausted from a long, miserable ride, my grandpa would stare at me like I just walked in with a missing limb and say in complete shock, "Why did you take an Uber? Where's your SUV we gave you?" And maybe it was the fatigue, or maybe it was the anger that had been boiling inside me for weeks. But that one question hit me harder than anything else lately. I felt this tight heaviness in my chest, like I'd been carrying around a secret that was too big for my body. So I just looked at him and said, "Grandpa, something happened. And I don't even know if what I did was right anymore. So now I'm asking you. If someone disrespected everything your family ever gave you, everything you ever worked for, and everything you ever trusted them with, would you do what I did? Or would you have handled it differently?" Before I explain what happened to the SUV, because trust me, that's a whole disaster on its own. Let me rewind everything and start from the beginning. Because this situation didn't start with a missing car. It didn't start with me showing up in an Uber. It started months ago, before my life turned into a twisted mess of betrayal, manipulation, and family drama that I never asked for. I'm 24, and like a lot of people my age, I'm still trying to find my footing in life. I graduated, I worked odd jobs, and eventually I landed something full-time. Nothing glamorous, but stable enough that I could help myself and occasionally help at home. My grandparents have always been the foundation of our family. They're the type of people who spoil quietly, support without asking for credit, and love in a way that makes you feel safe, even when the world feels like it's collapsing. When I turned 23, they gifted me something I never imagined. They gave me their second SUV, a beautiful, well-maintained white RAV4 that they'd kept in pristine condition. They told me they didn't need 2 cars anymore, and that it would help me start building my own life. It wasn't brand new, but to me, it felt like the biggest blessing I'd ever received. I cleaned it, I took care of it, I treated it like a symbol of trust and responsibility. If only I had known then that someone else in my life saw that trust as an opportunity. The someone was my cousin Adnan. He's 27, loud, charming in that fake influencer way, always looking for shortcuts instead of actually working for anything. Growing up, we were never close. He was the type who borrowed things and returned them broken. He lied easily, manipulated people without blinking, and got away with everything because he had that smile, that stupid confident smile that fooled the adults. I never liked him, but he's family. And family sometimes blinds you, doesn't it? Adnan moved back to our city a few months ago after failing at yet another business venture in another province. He showed up at my grandparents' house, acting like a celebrity who just returned from winning an award. Everyone tolerated him. Some even welcomed him. I stayed cautious. One evening, we were sitting in the living room after dinner when Adnan noticed my SUV parked outside. "Is that yours now?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, without any intention of discussing it with him. His eyes lit up in a way that immediately made me uncomfortable. "Bro, that's clean. You got lucky with grandparents like ours." I didn't respond. He didn't need to know how grateful I truly was. He didn't need to use my gratitude against me, which was something he was really good at doing to people. For the next few weeks, he kept bringing up the car casually. "Yo, I need to run an errand, can you drop me? Your car has good mileage." "Ha. Have you thought about going on a road trip?" Always soft questions. Always testing boundaries. I learned that the moment someone like him starts admiring something of yours, you better hold on tight because they're not admiring, they're plotting. And then it happened. One morning I woke up to find 10 missed calls from Adnan. I hadn't even processed the number before he called again. "Bro, please help me. Can you come pick me up? I'm stuck downtown? Uber's expensive. Please man, I swear it'll be quick." I should have said no. I should have trusted my instincts. But I'm the type of person who can't say no when someone is panicking. So I agreed. I drove downtown, picked him up, and that became the moment he realized I would give him access. I had opened the door, and he planned to walk right through it. A week later, he called again. "Bro, I just need your car for an hour, literally just 1 hour. I need to drop something off and I don't want to take a rickshaw." "No," I said immediately. "I don't lend my car to anyone, not even my friends." He acted offended. "Bro, I'm family. Why are you acting like I'm some stranger?" "I'm not comfortable with it." I repeated. That should have been the end of the conversation. But with people like Adnan, a no isn't a boundary, it's a challenge. He started guilt-tripping me. "You don't trust me." "Whoa!" I thought we were close. Grandpa gave you the car, and you can't even help your own cousin." At first, I ignored it. Then he started complaining to relatives, twisting the story so he looked like the victim and I looked selfish. I brushed it off because drama is his oxygen. But it didn't stop. One afternoon, I drove to my job and parked in the lot. When I came out, my SUV was gone. At first, I thought maybe I parked somewhere else. I circled the lot twice. Then 3 times. Then panic started settling in my stomach. My hands were shaking as I called the police. They asked if anyone else had access to the keys. I said no. I said absolutely not. My keys were in my pocket the entire time. They told me to file a report, which I did, heart pounding. I felt sick. 2 hours later, guess who called me? Adnan. His voice was annoyingly casual. "Bro, don't panic, okay? I borrowed your SUV, I'll bring it by tonight." I froze. "You muit? Relax, bro, your mom let me in the house and I saw your spare key." I didn't let him finish. "Are you insane? You stole my car." "Stole. Chill, it's family." I was gonna bring it back. My brain was spinning. I wanted to scream. My fists were shaking. And the worst part? My spare key wasn't where I last kept it. My mom had cleaned my room that week and reorganized things. She must have unknowingly left it in a drawer he could access. I don't blame her. She trusted him more than I did. I demanded he bring it back immediately. "Bro," he said slowly, "I'm kind of far now. It might take a while." How far? Like another city far. I felt nauseous. My grandparents' gift, my one responsibility, my one symbol of independence, gone. He took it out of the city without permission. Without insurance coverage for another driver. Without my knowledge. Without anything. That night he didn't show up. The next morning, he still didn't show up. Every hour made me more anxious. I called him nonstop. He picked up once and said, "Chill, bro, I'll be back soon," before hanging up. The disrespect. The entitlement. Finally, after turquoise he came back. I saw the SUV pull up from the window of my house. I ran outside and my stomach dropped. The front bumper was scratched. The back door had a dent. The side mirror was cracked. He stepped out like it was no big deal. "Listen, bro, small issue happened, but I'll fix it. Trust me." "Did you even tell me where you were going?" I asked through gritted teeth. "No need to get dramatic," he scoffed. I wanted to punch him. I wanted to scream at him. But all I felt was this heavy, sinking embarrassment. My grandparents gave me this car. Out of love. Out of trust. And now it was damaged because someone I didn't even like forced his way into my life. I took pictures. I wrote everything down. I told him he had 1 week to pay for the repairs. He laughed. 1 week? Bro, I don't have money like that. "You shouldn't have taken the car," I yelled. I said I'll fix it when I can. He shrugged. "Stop acting like a child." He had no guilt, no responsibility, nothing. When I told my mother, she begged me not to escalate things. He's family, beta, let it go. These things happen. He didn't mean harm. Didn't mean harm? He stole my key, took my SUV, drove out of the city, damaged it. Refused to pay. That's not accident. That's disrespect. That's entitlement. That's manipulation. But the real breaking point, the moment everything exploded, was the night before I ended up taking an Uber to my grandparents' house. Because even though all of that was bad, it wasn't the end. Not even close. But before I tell you what happened next, before I tell you about the final incident that made the whole family turn on me, let me stop here for a moment and ask you something, because I really need to know if I'm crazy or if this situation would push anyone to their limit. So that's the situation I was trapped in. My cousin stealing my car, damaging it, refusing to pay, and treating me like the villain. Before I continue and tell you the next part, the part that changed everything, I want you to pause and tell me, what would Wow you have done in my place? Would you confront him? Would you tell the whole family? Would you cut ties? Or would you quietly let it go? The night before I took the Uber to my grandparents' house was the moment everything in our family snapped, the moment every hidden tension exploded all at once, and the moment I realized just how far someone like Adnan could push me before I finally broke. After the whole SUV mess, I thought the worst was behind me. I told myself that maybe he had learned his lesson. Maybe the embarrassment of showing up with a damaged car would keep him in line. Maybe his ego would force him to stay away for a while. But people like him don't learn lessons. They don't grow from mistakes. They don't understand consequences. They see kindness as weakness, forgiveness as stupidity, and patience as permission. And that week, he proved that to me in a way I still can't fully wrap my head around. After I demanded he pay for the repairs, he stopped talking to me for a few days. Honestly, I was relieved. The silence felt peaceful. I went back to work, focused on myself, and tried to put everything behind me. But then small things started happening around the house. Things I didn't notice at first, but later realized were all connected. My room would be slightly rearranged when I came home. My drawers felt like someone had gone through them. My cabinet had fingerprints where I never touched. At first, I brushed it off. I thought maybe I had messed up the arrangement myself, or maybe my mom had tidied up again. But then one night, as I walked down the hallway for water, I heard whispers from the guest room where Adnan was staying. I recognized his voice immediately, low and irritated, like he was arguing with someone over the phone. I didn't stay to listen, but the tone stuck with me, agitated, desperate, cornered. But I ignored it. I told myself not to get involved. Then came the night that changed everything. It was around 11 p.m. when my mom knocked on my door and said, "Beta, can you check your drawer? I think something is missing from my cupboard too." That sentence alone made my stomach tighten. Missing. What did she mean by missing? I opened my drawer and immediately realized what she was talking about. The small envelope where I kept emergency money was gone. I kept it hidden under some papers, folded neatly inside. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I worked for it. I saved it. Every rupee counted, and now it was gone. Before I could even process it, my mom whispered, "Miri jewelry be missing, hey." I felt a cold wave rush through my body. Jewelry, not costume jewelry. Her real pieces, her savings, her security, the gold set she kept for emergencies. My mom never touched it unless absolutely necessary. Those were her rainy day treasures. And now she was standing there trembling, her face pale, lips shaking. I knew immediately what had happened. I knew it so clearly that it made me furious at myself. I had let a snake slither into our home. I had let him get too close. I had trusted him too little, but still not enough. And now my mother who always tries to keep everyone happy, was paying the price. I stood there breathing hard, trying to keep my anger under control. "Did anyone go into your room?" I asked. "No," she said. "But earlier today, I saw Adnan walking out of your room. I thought maybe he was looking for you." That was it. The moment she said those words, something snapped inside me. The anger wasn't just anger anymore. It was betrayal, guilt, helplessness, and boiling rage all mixed into one. He stole my car, damaged it, refused to pay, guilt-tripped me, disrespected me. And now he had stolen from my mother. I stormed to the guest room and banged the door open so hard that it hit the wall. Adnan jumped like I'd caught him committing a crime, which I basically did. His eyes were wide, his hands immediately hiding his phone, and his body stiff like he'd been doing something he shouldn't. I didn't even give him a second to speak. "Where's the money?" I demanded. He blinked. "What money?" "The money from my drawer, my mom's jewelry." "Where is it?" His face changed instantly. That fake innocence, that practiced confused expression, that pathetic attempt to play dumb. He used it like a weapon. "Bro, what are you talking about? Why would I take anything from you?" "Because you've already taken my car. Because you lied before. Because you manipulate. Because you think everything is yours. So stop acting stupid and tell me where it is." Instead of answering, he rolled his eyes. "You're insane, bro. Always blaming me for your problems." "My problems," I shouted. "You stole my car!" "I borrowed it," he snapped back. "You damaged it? It wasn't that bad. And now you stole from my mother." That made him stand up abruptly. His posture shifted, his voice lower, threatening. "Watch your tone. Don't accuse me of theft." That was the moment I realized something terrifying. He wasn't just careless. He wasn't just irresponsible. He was shameless. Completely, utterly shameless. He was the type of person who could steal something from your pocket while you were looking at him and still deny it confidently. I stepped closer. "Give the jewelry back." "Now?" He got defensive, raising his voice, stepping forward like he wanted to intimidate me. "I don't have anything of yours. Stop yelling. You're waking everyone up for no reason." That's when my uncle, his father, heard the noise and came rushing in. Behind him came my aunt, then my mom, then my sister. Soon, the whole house was awake. And there we were, standing in the middle of the room with the tension thick enough to choke on. "What's going on?" my uncle asked. "Your son stole from us," I said, refusing to sugarcoat it. My aunt gasped dramatically. "How dare you accuse him of such a thing?" My uncle frowned, confused. "Adnan wouldn't do that." My mom spoke softly, her voice trembling. "I saw him leaving the room earlier." "Oh, please." My aunt snapped. "You must be mistaken." Of course they would defend him. Because that's what they always did. They protected him from reality, until he thought he was immune to consequences. Adnan suddenly threw his hands up dramatically. "You all think so low of me." "No, I said. "We think realistically." I walked straight to his backpack, the one he kept zipped up and close to him, the one he never let anyone touch. He lunged forward to stop me, but I shoved him back. He fell onto the bed, shouting, "Stop touching my stuff!" But I had reached my breaking point. For once, I wasn't going to let him manipulate the situation. I unzipped the bag and dumped everything onto the floor. And there it was, my mom's gold set, wrapped carelessly in a handkerchief, shoved next to his power bank. The room went silent. Everyone stared at it. My mom's hand flew to her mouth. My uncle's face drained of color. My aunt stepped back in shock. And Adnan, he froze. His knees buckled slightly like someone had punched him in the chest. I picked it up and held it in front of him. "Explain this." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again, and then, like the coward he was, he whispered, "I was just holding it for safety." I laughed. I actually laughed. A dry, humorless, painful laugh. "In your bag. Hidden, without telling anyone." My uncle finally snapped out of the shock and barked, "Adnan, did you steal this?" Adnan stared at him, then at me, then at the floor. But before he could answer, his mother stepped forward. And instead of acknowledging the truth, she did the unthinkable. She said, "Maybe he was going to return it. Maybe he made a mistake. You don't need to humiliate him like this." I stared at her in disbelief. Humiliate him? He stole from us. He's young, she insisted. "He's 27? I shouted. My uncle held his head, embarrassed and furious, but still somehow trying to process everything. My mom was crying silently, and Adnan, he sat on the bed, his head down, refusing to look at anyone. That night the argument escalated into screaming. My aunt accused my family of treating her son badly. She blamed us for making him feel desperate. She said we never supported him. She said we pushed him away. She created every excuse possible except the truth: her son was a thief. My uncle told her to stop. He told her she was enabling him. They fought. For the first time the family saw the real Adnan. Not the charming cousin, not the funny storyteller, not the entrepreneur, but the manipulative liar who took advantage of everyone. By midnight my uncle said, "Pack your things. We're leaving." My aunt refused. She said she wasn't going anywhere. That's when I realized something. The problem wasn't just Adnan. It was the entire system that raised him to believe he could do anything without consequences. They stayed the night, but no one slept. The next morning, I woke up to find the SUV parked in the driveway, but something was different. I looked closely and realized the SUV had been moved. Someone had entered it. Someone had been inside. I checked the interior. The glove compartment was open. The papers were scattered. And then, I noticed something horrifying. The registration document was missing. Gone vanished. I ran inside and confronted him again. He denied it. Of course he denied it. He pretended not to know what a registration document even was. But I knew he had taken it. Maybe he wanted leverage. Maybe he wanted revenge. Maybe he planned to use it for something illegal. Or maybe he just wanted to cause chaos. I didn't wait for explanations. I took the car keys. I locked the SUV. And I told my mother, "I'm going to Grandpa's house. I need to tell him everything." I knew the family storm was about to hit me. I knew I'd become the villain in someone else's narrative. I knew people would whisper. But I didn't care anymore. I had reached my limit. Adnan had crossed every line possible. And that brings us to the moment I arrived at my grandparents' house. I took an Uber because I didn't even want to touch the SUV. Not until I talked to the only two people whose opinions still mattered to me. I stepped into the house, and my grandpa looked at me with concern and confusion, asking, "Why did you take an Uber? Where's your SUV we gave you?" And all that anger and shame and exhaustion finally crashed over me. I told him everything. I told him about the car, the theft, the stolen jewelry, the confrontation, the registration document, every detail. My grandma held her chest, shocked. My grandpa's eyes darkened in disappointment, not at me, but at the entire situation, at how family can betray family. He stood up slowly and said something I never expected. "Bring the car here today. We're taking it out of your uncle's house, and we're calling the police." I froze. My heart jumped. "Police," he said firmly. "This has gone too far." For the first time, I realized someone was finally on my side. I went back home with him to get the SUV. My uncle and aunt were still arguing in the living room. Adnan was sitting on the sofa, silent, pale. Avoiding awe. Pa walked in. The entire house froze. The man commanded respect by presence alone. "Where is the registration paper?" my grandpa asked him. My grandpa repeated louder, "Where is it?" Adnan stuttered. I don't know, maybe I..." My grandpa cut him off. "Son, If it doesn't show up right now, we will file a report. Suddenly, Adnan stood up and went to his backpack. He opened the very same pocket he kept the jewelry in and pulled out the folded registration document. He placed it on the table, and for the first time, I saw my grandpa truly angry. "You will leave this house today," he said, "and you will not come back until you fix yourself." My aunt tried to argue, my uncle tried to mediate, but my grandpa had had enough. He walked out with the SUV keys and said, "Come on, we're going." I drove behind his car, still shaken. When we reached his house, he told me something that finally broke the weight I'd been carrying. "You did nothing wrong," he said, "and you should never feel guilty for protecting what is yours." He had the SUV inspected by his mechanic. He took photos. He said he would pay for repairs himself and that I wasn't allowed to feel bad about it. He said the car was a gift, and gifts should never become burdens. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks: relief, support, validation. But that wasn't the end, because the next day my uncle called, and he said words that left me speechless. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for exposing him. I should have done it years ago. I didn't expect that. Not from him. Not from someone who always defended his son." He told me he was taking Adnan back to their hometown. He said he needed discipline, structure, consequences, things he never gave him. He apologized to my mom, to me, to the family. For the first time, it felt like something changed. Days passed. The repairs were done. The SUV was returned to me looking brand new. The fear slowly faded. The tension in the house calmed. Life went back to something close to normal. And here's the craziest part: Adnan hasn't contacted anyone since. No calls, no texts, nothing. Maybe he's ashamed. Maybe he's angry. Maybe he's planning another drama elsewhere. I honestly don't care. Because for the first time in a long time, I feel like I stood up for myself, for my mother, and for the trust my grandparents placed in me. So after everything that happened, after all the lies and theft and betrayal, I'm left wondering, was I wrong for exposing him? Was I wrong for confronting him? Was I wrong for refusing to stay silent? Because I didn't want drama. I didn't want conflict. I didn't want any of this. But sometimes, standing up for yourself creates more noise than staying quiet. And sometimes, protecting your family means calling out the family members who caused the most damage. If you were in my place, would you have done the same? Like this video if you were on my side. Subscribe for more stories like this. And please share your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know what you think about everything that happened. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.